Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. I'm coming in special delivery today. I normally don't do random videos anymore, but I said, let me reach out to the audience. We still got stuff to do tonight. We still got the Gaza update in a couple of hours. Monday to Friday, we do night school, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to keep doing that. But I saw something in the news today that struck me. I saw something that I thought was just wild, and it made me, I got to say, it made me frustrated, but it also made me laugh. And that is Ann Coulter. If you don't know Ann Coulter is a longtime conservative commentator. She's written numerous books about America, about American culture, about American society, about immigration, etc. She used to be a regular on the Bill Maher show. She has had a consistent audience around the world, certainly around the country. On the right, as she talks about some of the sacred cows of America, she tears them down. She is a very, very skilled provocateur. We've worked together many, 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 many times. On Fox News, we've debated on Larry King. We got some classic debates. We got a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of interesting past that we could talk about. But the reason why I have her here is because she appeared on Vivek Ramaswamy's podcast. Now, if you don't know Vivek Ramaswamy, he is a Republican. He is an Indian American, born in Ohio. He is someone who really hit the public stage in the last year as he ran for president as a kind of right-wing, truth-telling Washington outsider businessman. That's his identity. And he said lots of things that other people wouldn't say. I've seen him get destroyed in debates. I've also seen him win debates where he has articulated a particular type of right-wing narrative. Sometimes he colors outside the lines because he's so honest about his right-wing policies. And sometimes when there's contradictions between conservative values and conservative strategy, he looks on the outside. Sometimes he looks principled, sometimes he looks crazy. Again, all of this is part of the game. But to be Vivek Ramaswamy in the Republican Party, to be anybody brown in the Republican Party, you've got to put up with some stuff. You've got to put up with some racism. You got to put up with some policy positions that are xenophobic, that are racist, whatever. He knows what he signed up for. It's the same thing with Black Republicans. Sometimes you have to sit there and listen to people say things that are wild and disrespectful, and you have to pretend you didn't hear them. Well, here's the problem. The other day, Mr. Ramaswamy pops up on his own podcast with Ann Coulter. It's called The Truth. And he decides to interview her on the topic of nationalism. And I think that's a great topic, by the way. I think nationalism is a great topic to talk about. I don't think people understand nationalism. We talked about it on night school last night. I think people don't really get what people mean when they say nationalism, especially when white people talk about nationalism or white nationalism. I think sometimes people misunderstand all of it. So I'm all about a conversation, and an interesting one. But when Ann Coulter comes on his show, she doesn't just talk about nationalism. She comes straight for this man's jugular. And she says something that is directly, unequivocally, unabashedly racist. And the question for me was, how's he going to carry it? But before we even get to Vivek, I want you to hear what Ann Coulter said to him, because it was wild. Just listen.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American Black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that. And it's directly related to what you were just talking about. You know, the thing about nationalism, you're totally right. It is like, to use the word nationalism, oh, it's Hitler, it's Hitler. And, you know, Hitler had soup. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have soup. Hitler loved dogs. That doesn't mean you shouldn't love dogs. So I think we have to move past this. If Hitler did it, it must be bad. But I do notice when I was listening to your monologue, I don't think I do use the word nationalism. I would use a word you used in your monologue, which I liked.
I'll come back to the rest of it. There's like 15 things there we could point to. There's like 15 problems with this. There's like so much racism in this. Let's start from, she said, you're articulate. I guess I can say about you because you're not an American black. She was alluding to the fact that when Barack Obama was running for president in 2008, people were calling him articulate, and there was a big debate about whether or not it was racist to call him articulate. And it was actually my first major appearance on television, my first major appearance on the Bill O'Reilly show, the O'Reilly Factor, where I said, look, black people aren't insulted when you call them articulate. Black people are insulted when you call them articulate for ordinary things, or you have a sense of bewilderment and surprise attached to the framing of articulate. Like Barack Obama had a bachelor's degree from Columbia and a JD from Harvard. Like, he's supposed to be articulate, right? He's running for president. He's supposed to be articulate. The shocker would be if he weren't. So, but of course, the right can't just say, "Hey, wait a minute, y'all. Yeah, maybe we are a little racist when we talk about how articulate an educated black person is." So they now act like you just can't call black people articulate because we're just so sensitive. We're just so sensitive. But that wasn't it. The truth bomb she dropped was when she says, as you just heard, I agreed with you. I liked you. I agreed with you more than anybody else on the campaign trail. You ran for president and I liked you the most. I agree with you the most, but I couldn't vote for you because you're Indian. Now, the crazy part about that,
or a Japanese,
is her response, is his response to it. Listen to this.
Hitler loved dogs.
Before we get to Hitler.
It was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Look at his face right there. Look at his face right there.
Directly related to what you were just talking about. You know, the thing about national.
Look at his face right there. That is the face of somebody who was like, oh shit, this is really racist. But I have made a career on pretending that racism doesn't exist. He is furious right now. He is enraged right now. He doesn't know what to do, but he can't say that he's enraged. He can't say that he's mad. He can't say, yo, that was racist as hell. Because then he's not the good Indian anymore. He's not the good brown person. He's not the good Republican minority if he makes that move. Same thing happened to Nikki Haley, right? Trump started saying racist stuff. Other people started saying racist stuff about Nikki Haley. But again, she ran a campaign of racelessness. These people say, look, we're the right ones. So you can't just bust out as Nimarata Randawa right now. No, you got to stay Nikki Haley. Vivek Ramaswamy, you can't just pop up now and act as if you're offended by racist comments. No, bro. You lost that bet a long time ago. You have no right to make that claim. And he knows that. In fairness, he knows that. That's why he dummies up right there. He doesn't say a word. He acts quiet. He tries to look pensive, but he is mad as hell. I'm sorry. Someone just writes in, Daniel, no, he's not. Vivek isn't a hyper-emotional man like many Black American men when it comes to race. So what Daniel, who also seems to be racist here, is saying is that Vivek wasn't mad. How do you know he wasn't mad? How do you know he wasn't mad, Daniel? I got to hear this. You know, it's like, he was mad. You can say he wasn't mad. But she just told him she didn't vote for him because he was Indian. You might say, well, Mark, how do you know what's in his brain? Well, unlike you, sir, I actually, I don't know, look things up. So, you know, I looked it up. Let's look it up and see what he said. Because He seemed mad to me. He said, I'm just pulling this up. He said, and I love this, not reactionary like black people. Yeah, because all black people are reactionary. If I was reactionary every time somebody said something racist to me, but here's what he said. He said his response is how we know he wasn't mad. He said, Ann Coulter's racist claim that she wouldn't vote for me because I'm Indian is utterly absurd. Suggesting that someone of Indian descent born in the USA can't run for president is ludicrous. According to her, only Native Americans can hold presidency. Absolute nonsense. Now, you may think from that comment that he's happy or that he's not bothered by it. I think that would be a tough argument to make. I think it would be pretty difficult to support that claim. He's getting props from the right for not jumping through the table. He's getting props from the right for not cursing her out. So he still looks like the good brown Republican. But the fact of the matter is, he literally had to sit there as someone called him racist. And the first thing he does is important. The first thing he does is to jump out and say that it's racist, which is what's normal. It's normal to jump out and say, hey, this is racist. You know why? Because it was. But later on, he does something else. Because I know that my friend here who just wrote in is going to say, well, you still don't know what she was thinking, right? She said he intellectually embarrassed her instead of making himself look foolish by emotionally triggered. Look, I'm not saying he's triggered, but here's what Ramaswamy said from his own account. He said, Ann Coulter told me flat to my face that she couldn't vote for me because you're Indian, even though she agreed with me more than most other candidates. I disagree with her, but respect she had the guts to speak her mind. It was a riveting hour. The Truth Podcast is back. So this is the part where I feel like he's just ham-boning it. He's just retreating back, right? So his first reaction is, this is racist. That's his first reaction. His next reaction was, hey, I was angry at the beginning, but I'm not mad anymore. I took it as a learning moment. We challenged each other, right? And then he switched it to almost like anybody who's mad at Ann for this isn't really and I'm sorry, you're right. The first thing I read was a parody account. I apologize. I pulled up the wrong tweet. The one I just read to you is the correct one. Forgive me, and I'll edit that later. The correct one was the one she just said. Ann challenged me. Ann challenged me. This is after he said it was racist, right? Ann challenged me. When someone says that they didn't vote for you because you're an Indian, when someone says that only white people or white Anglo-Saxon Protestants should be president, that's not a conversation piece. That's not a spirited dialogue. That's not, I see it one way, you see it the other. No. That is flat out racism. And the fact that you have to sit there, and let me just be clear, he absolutely has to sit there. Because if he looks enraged, then he loses his base. Because the only reason they want you there, Mr. Ramaswamy, the only reason you're allowed to be there, Mr. Ramaswamy, is because you're willing to stomach that kind of racism. It's really that simple. Let me bring it back up because she says more. She says more.
Then they were just, part of us and part of. King George referred to the American Revolution as that. We've never had a president.
I'm going to bring it back to here because I want you to hear her full thing on why this makes sense.
So you do see basically every other ethnic group very proud of their ethnic group. And the thing I'd say about America, okay, no single.
Actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm gonna go back a little bit more.
Do tend to be Anglo-Saxons. Oh boy, you can't be proud of being white. Whereas, watch a soccer game and see, it's Venezuela, we're Mexicans. They don't. It's funny. Hispanics don't even think of themselves as Hispanics. They think of themselves as the country they're from. I think French feel very proud to be French. We saw Macron express.
She's making the case here of why white people should be allowed to be proud to be white, and linking that to the point here about why it's okay to only want white Anglo-Saxon Protestants to be president.
Objecting wokeness on the grounds that this is an American institution. We're not going to import this. So you do see basically every other ethnic group very proud of their ethnic group. And the thing I'd say about America, okay, no single cuisine.
Let's be clear, just as an educational moment here, white is not an ethnicity. White is not an ethnicity. Saying, hey, I am proud. No one ever gets mad at a French person for saying they're French, or a German person for saying they're German. We know lots of Italian people who are like, I'm Italian. I'm excited about being Italian. I'm proud to be Italian. You ain't never heard nobody get mad at that. When somebody says I'm proud to be white, that is different. Why? White's not an ethnicity. White doesn't come from a country. White is an identity built upon exploitation, power dynamics, domination, violence, racism. White is not an ethnicity. You've never heard anybody say, oh my God, why are all these Irish people here bragging about being Irish? Whoa, why are all these people here happy to be Lithuanian? No one ever says that. Because it's okay to be proud of your country. It's of origin. It's okay to be proud of your heritage. It's okay to be proud of your ethnicity. White is a racial identity that becomes the normative framework for assigning meaning and value to everyone else's life and body. In other words, you're white or you're not. Whiteness is about domination. So to say white somehow is something that we should be proud of again, because only white people aren't allowed to be proud of their ethnicity, is ridiculous. Because again, whiteness is not an ethnicity, it's a race, and race is a made-up thing. All these things are made up, but this is a very particular type of construct.
But you can get Chinese food and Mexican food in Paris and Tokyo. Food has definitely migrated across countries. There is a core national identity that is the identity of the WASP. And that doesn't mean we can't take anyone else in, a Sri Lankan, or a Japanese or an Indian. But the core around which the nation's values are formed is the WASP.
That's true.
We've never had a president who didn't have at least partial English ancestry. Never. We've only had one Catholic president. There was only one Catholic signatory to the Declaration of Independence. They were all not only Protestants, but pretty much Presbyterian. King George referred to the American Revolution as that Presbyterian War. So there is a lot in the freedom thing. Samuel Huntington of Harvard has written about this in a fantastic book I recommend to everyone, Who Are We? And he describes how, back in colonial times, interestingly enough, for example, Jews could vote, but Catholics couldn't, because people thought they would be more loyal to Rome once they became more American Catholic.
So she's making the case for nationalism. She's making the case for white nationalism. She's making the case that America has always been a Protestant nation and a WASP culture. Now, some of that is true. America is built on WASP values. It is built on centering whiteness. It is built on, it is a Eurocentric country. But that's what we're trying to undo. And she said to him, no, we're not going to undo that. She said, now, if you have a child who marries a WASP, then I'll vote for them. That's what she told him. She said, I love you. I love what you believe. But I can't vote for you because you're a diversion from the status quo. And if you watch his eyes throughout this exchange, if you watch him throughout this conversation, you can see that he's embarrassed. He is disturbed. He is angry. He is sad, as he should be, as he should be. Again, it's a ridiculous and it's a disgusting statement, but he has to take it. So all that to say, if you ever wonder what's going on in the mind of these Black and brown Republicans who sign up to soft shoe for the party, this is what it is. They're hoping that they don't get forced into these moments where they have to pretend that something humiliatingly racist has not happened. They pray that people will just deny racism. Because Ramaswamy is the guy who's going to come out in 6 months, or if he's lucky and becomes the vice presidential choice, he's going to spend the next 4 years telling us there's no racism. Black people need to stop complaining. Brown people need to stop complaining. It's not xenophobia why Donald Trump wants to build a wall on the border. It's just good old American policy. He's going to break down all the things that are not racist. But he knows that when he's in that room, there's a whole lot of people that are not going to support him because he's Indian. Ann Coulter literally told him to his face, I support you. I believe in you. I agree with you more than the others, but I can't pull the lever for you because you're Indian. But more importantly, it wasn't just that he's Indian. She said it's that he's not white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. She's saying there's nothing wrong with nationalism. There's nothing wrong with having pride. She said just because Hitler was a nationalist doesn't mean that we can't embrace it. Let's not be intellectually lazy. Now, at the level of logic, she's right? Just because somebody who's awful does something doesn't mean that everything they do is awful, right? Sure. The problem is, well, two things. One, never use Hitler as your example. I'm going to say it's impossible. I've never seen anyone use Hitler as an example and it work out well. It's just never a good thing. Hitler's awful. Using him as an example is awful. Let's not do it. But the second piece of it is the nationalism that was bound up in why Hitler was such a monster. All forms of nationalism are not the same. I'm skeptical of all forms of nationalism, but all nationalism isn't the same. White nationalism and a country built on white nationalism is a country that turns into an ethno-state. It's a country that turns into an apartheid state. It's a country that becomes organized in a way that consigns non-whites to second-class citizenship. Now, I don't think Ann Coulter believes that Black people should have second-class citizenship. In fact, I know she doesn't believe that. I know she doesn't think that. I'm 100% sure Ann Coulter doesn't think that. But what she's missing is the fact that normalizing and centering white Anglo-Saxon Protestantism or Protestantness as the country's culture and as the template for citizenship. If you do that, then so much so that you say, look, I can't vote for somebody if they're not white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Even Obama had a little bit of that in him because of his mama. So like, we're all good. If that's your framework, that means you're not going to vote for a Jewish president. It means you're not going to vote for a Catholic president. It means you're not going to vote for a Black president who's not tied to some mixed situation. If you got to go through someone's genealogy to find if you can vote for them and not their ideology, that's racist and it's dangerous. And because whiteness is at the center of it, you also end up reinforcing a very racist outcome, a very racist reality in the States. Anyway, so this is why unequivocally we have to disagree and even denounce what Ann Coulter said. But I'm less interested in what Ann said, because Ann sometimes just says things to be provocative. Again, I've known Ann for 20 years. She'll say something just to get a response. She'll say something just because a book is coming out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not my thing. If I wouldn't make a post every time Ann Coulter says something. But it's watching that poor man have to sit there and pretend that he wasn't humiliated, have to sit there and pretend that he was not embarrassed, have to sit there and pretend that on some level, this wasn't a deep fear that he had. Remember, the guy got mollywopped in the presidential primary. So he has to know that some of them white people who loved the stuff he was saying, who celebrated him speaking up and speaking out, also wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian. That has to hurt deep down, that you're literally bending over to kiss these people's ass. You're literally going out of your way to be the house Indian, that you're doing all the things that you could possibly do to make yourself unassuming, non-threatening, you know, all the things, and they still don't want your ass. I mean, they want him in the party. They love him, and he's great. He's smart. He's funny. He's young. He's not funny, but he's smart. He's young. He's clever. They love lots of stuff about him, but what they never will get over is the fact that he ain't white, and he can't get over that himself. So I would feel bad for Vivek if he didn't sign up for this. I'd feel bad for him if he weren't exploiting his Indianness and selling out brown people around the country. I'd feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for him, but I do. There's a human piece of me when I looked in his eyes and saw how awful he looked, how humiliated he looked. It made me think about all those other people, all those black people out there, all those brown people out there who also are going to pay a price for his choices. Anyway, y'all, that's it. Just had to break that down. Thank you all for watching, everybody. Hit the like button if you like what I'm talking about. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you can get regular updates. And hit the join button if you're so inclined. Become a member of the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. All you got to do is hit the join button and help support on a monthly basis the work that we're doing. Remember, every single night, Monday to Friday, we do night school at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Night school, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. And tonight at 10:30 or 10:15. I'll be doing my Gaza update where we give you updates on the war on Gaza. But make sure you check me out every single day. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And again, if you're so inclined, hit the join button. Also, if you want to support the channel but don't want to be a full-time monthly member, you can also just drop something in our Cash App coffers or our Venmo account, MLHTV, $ MLHTV on Cash App, or at MLHTV on Venmo. Both will do it. Right now, tonight, we are entering day 11 of the month. And as you know, we don't have financial support. We don't have an independent backer. We're not tied to a company. This is all independent media. This is all on my back. So if you want to support independent media or independent black media or left-wing media, all you got to do is drop something in. If everybody watching right now were to drop in $2, just $2, if everybody watching right now were to drop in $2 on Cash App or Venmo, we will be able to meet our financial goals for the night. Just $2. So if you could do that, we'd be grateful. If not, no problem. Just hit the like button. Just share the content. And of course, keep watching. We'll see you soon. Peace.